Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm just here to bring you my latest journal. So this one, it's a kind of soft cover. It's made from an envelope, an A4 size envelope, obviously folded in half. It's been covered with this really pretty scrapbook paper, and then here, this is actually some wallpaper, not vintage, which I've just kind of popped on there. I've distress inked and coffee stained, as you can kind of see here. It's got kind of splotches of the coffee staining, and here it's secured with some soft net, which I've kind of glued on just here to the front cover, and then I've glued on a kind of handmade fabric flower there to kind of hold it in place. I just raised the tripod slightly to hold it in place. So that's kind of the, not the fastening, but you know, the closure. And then this image here, this is also from this same wallpaper, so again that's kind of been glued on. I've got some vintage book page, and then here an image from my Gypsy Rose kit, just because I thought it obviously kind of complemented the colours quite nicely. It's approximately 9 by 6 inches, you know, kind of in size, and it's all been Mod Podged, obviously kind of for a bit more, you know, durability. Going inside, it's using lots of images here from a vintage book. Now, it's not hugely vintage. It was from 1980 something. I think it was the early 80s, where it's got all these gorgeous, gorgeous black and white pictures. Well, they're actually sepia coloured pictures. And I've obviously kind of distress inked them to kind of age them further. But that's kind of the theme that's going on here. So on the inside of the front cover, I've got here some vintage book page. This is some vintage kind of, what was the word? From a vintage bookkeeping book. I couldn't think then. And then you've got a corner tuck spot here, or corner pocket here, layered up with some vintage sheet music. This is a vintage book here, this corner pocket, which I've just doubled up for kind of extra thickness. And it's got obviously the vintage image here and a stamped image here. Some of this gorgeous crochet trim that was gifted to me by Laura. I won't keep on saying that. I've used it everywhere throughout this whole journal, but all of this crochet trim was gifted to me by Laura. So thank you very much, Laura. I've got a fabric ruffle here that's just running kind of, you know, semi the full length. And then here, this is one of my Matchbox tops, which has just been tea stained and just pops in there. Then on the facing page, I've just made a pocket here from kind of coordinating scrapbook paper. Popped on an image from the book, some doily and some lace trim. A bit more of that vintage, I keep forgetting the name of that bookkeeping book. And then I just made a little kind of pull-out tag that's just been, again, tea stained with a couple of things layered up on there. Then on this page, there's a massive pocket here. I love this paper. It's just so pretty. And that's basically has got an image from the vintage book. It's got a little flower here, a fabric flower up here, little stamped image down here for just kind of a place name or a date or something. Some more of that crochet trim down there. This is some vintage, it was a booklet, which I think, if I recall, was from Jessica Rapp, a swap that we did. So thank you, Jessica, and I've used plenty of that in this journal as well, so I won't kind of keep on saying where that's from, but you know, if I just kind of refer to it from the vintage booklets. And then here I've just got one of my principles that, again, I've just kind of coffee stained that, again from the Gypsy Rose kit, that just goes in there. And then here, this is from another vintage book that I've got, where it was called something like My Auntie's Scrapbook or something. And when I purchased it, so I got it from a kind of car boot sale, and I thought it was somebody's scrapbook, but actually it was sold as a filled-in scrapbook. So all of the pictures must have already been in there when it was sold. And they're all paper, they're not on card or anything, and they were just kind of attached along the very top of the pictures. So very carefully I was able to peel, you know, a few out to use obviously in this journal. So I really like those. So that's one of those. And it is a vintage book, it's quite old. And then here you've got some of that vintage lace trim. And then you've got a little stamped butterfly and a little stamped thingy here. And then here I've just got a kind of what would be like a policy envelope closure. So the string's obviously here, it's tied around here. And then this opens, you've got some lace trim at the top, this opens and it drops down here, and then you've got a folding flap, and you've also, this is also a pocket, which I forgot to obviously put something in it, so I don't know whether this photo will actually fit, this picture, whether this would actually fit in there. Or perhaps it's not a pocket. I thought it was. Let me just have a look. I can't remember sometimes, once you kind of do these books, you forget what it is, you know, what's a pocket and what's not. It is a pocket. It's quite a tight pocket, so obviously this is just paper. I don't want to damage it by kind of sliding it in, and obviously this postcard is actually a bit too long to kind of fit in there, but you know, you could pop something in there as well. So you've got obviously journaling here, you've got journaling on the back of the kind of folding. Pop a photo or something here, and then it obviously folds back like that. So I think that's kind of a super fun fold out flip. Then on the next page here, I've got a little folding flip again. This one is tucked behind this little postcard, and it just unfolds like this, and you've got obviously journaling all in there. And then you've got, again, some more of that vintage booklet here at the side. And then you've got one of my printables here and a stamped image here. And then you've got a little tag that I just made, and it's got another image from the vintage book. That just pops in there. Another image from the vintage book here. Some more coffee dyed paper here, another image there from my Gypsy Rose kit. Some sheet music, vintage book page, a bit more coffee dyed paper just with some lace. And then on this page, again, you've got a little folding kind of, you know, fold out kind of flip booklet thing. And that just tucks in here behind this little shaped stamped image. You've got some more of the vintage booklet. You've got another one of my printables, some vintage postage stamps, a little rosebud, some vintage sheet music, and a little butterfly. And then here you've got another one of those kind of photographs from that scrapbook that I was talking about. And as you can see, it kind of obviously came off with some of the colour from the page it was obviously attached to. I quite like that. And then here you've got some of that coffee dyed vintage lace and a little bit of pearl trim down there. And then on the next page, I love this page, I've got a book page pocket with an image there again from the vintage book. And then inside the pocket, then you've got some more crochet trim here, and a couple of flowers. Inside the pockets, I've just done a book page little tag here with some elements layered up, some of the vintage booklets, some of my printables, and that's just like that. So that goes in there, and then it's also a tuck spot, so you've got some more of that vintage booklet behind. And then you've got this large tag here, which I love this tag. It's got some more of the vintage book page, and then it's got some of this film strip stuff that I've just had kind of laying around in my stash for a while. And then you've got some ball chain holding on this teeny tag there, and then Dream a Little Dream down the bottom, and a bit of soft net here. So love that tag. And that's been stitched also around the edge, so that's that. On the facing page, you've got kind of half a large flower, which again, I've had these flowers in my stash for the longest time. So I just kind of distress inked it a bit, cut it in half, and I've used the other half further on in the journal. And then I've just finished it with a piece of the crochet lace. Obviously the coffee dyed paper, stamped image, and a couple of stamped corners here. Whoops. Stamped corners and a doily. And then here, a bit of lace. Then this one here, this is one of my new kind of pocket, new pocket things. I have done a tutorial on this, but I haven't got round to uploading it yet. So hopefully that will be uploaded shortly. But basically you've got obviously the front, which you could leave for journaling. I didn't. I've obviously kind of decorated it because I thought that looked pretty. It's got an image from the vintage book. Excuse me. Then in here I've got a pocket. It's got some of the vintage lace trim, and then you've got more decorative bits here and a pocket here. So you've got this pocket here. Oops. I'm leaning around the camera again, and it's just never very easy kind of doing things when you're leaning around the camera and the tripod. So that's a pocket that side. You've got a pocket here, and then it's also just glued in as a kind of tuck spot. So you've got another pocket behind where I've just got some coffee dyed paper that just folds out like that. So what I might do is pop this piece actually in here, and then pop this piece in here. All fingers and thumbs when I can't reach, it's especially difficult. And then what I might do is grab that postcard from this one, because there were obviously two things popped into this pocket, and just pop that in behind, so that you've got things in those pockets. This is some more of that vintage booklet. You've got a stamped image, some crochet trim and a little banner. So that's that one. Then over the page here, you've got a top corner pocket. Again, this is some vintage book page. I've double layered it to give it kind of extra thickness. Another image from the vintage book. Most of them were sepia, but there were some coloured images as well. They were massive, like on a whole A5 page, basically. So I just tore out the pieces that I thought were quite pretty and interesting. So that's that. Got some doilies, some more of that vintage booklet, some more of the lace, crochet lace trim, a couple of stamped images. And tucked in there is another one of those little photos from the scrapbook. And then here you've got some fabric ruffle. On here you've got a fabric pocket. Now this is just from some upholstery samples. So this is just kind of velvet upholstery sample. It's got some fabric ruffle. And then I also made a little kind of flower from the crochet trim. So that's what that is. And then behind there, you've got another image from the vintage book. You've got some vintage sheet music, a stamped image, and some of the pink lace. And then I just made this large tag here with another image from the book, a little butterfly, a clock, a flower with a vintage button, some net here, and some lace trim. And that's just, again, been stitched around. You've just got some soft net at the top. That just tucks in there. And then going over the page, this is the centre of the signature. So I love how this looks with this pretty pink embroidery thread. So here, this is one of my Matchbox Tops printables. So it's a massive one. So literally, I just stuck it down like a corner pocket or a corner tuck spot, so on two sides. Then I finished it off with some fabric ruffle. I've obviously distress inked it there. And I've got some of that crochet lace there, a little bulb pin here, holding on a tiny tag, and then tucked in there, this is just some of that fly sheet that you get inside kind of the books, you know, the blank pages. So you've just got a tiny bit of text there still left in the number 9, and a stamped image just on the front. So I thought that looked nice. And then here you've got another book page pocket with some lace trim and some stamped images here just to kind of decorate it. You've got another one of the Matchbox Tops just as a little journaling card that just slips in there. And then behind there you've just got some more of that vintage booklet, and this is one of my journaling cards with the vintage ladies just again tucked in. On this page you've got some fabric ruffle, you've got some lace trim, you've got some doily, and then some both stamped images and also some printables from the Gypsy Rose kit, and you've got a flower. And then here you've just got an envelope which has been layered up. So this envelope's been coffee dyed, and I've layered it up with some scrapbook paper, some book page, stamped image, and then done a kind of policy envelope style fastening. And then inside there you've just got some pages there for journaling on. And then here you've got another one of the tickets from the Gypsy Rose kit, so kind of more journaling there. Obviously this is the string, and then you've got the rim here in the envelope as well to kind of slot some more, you know, ephemera or photographs or, you know, whatever you kind of fancied popping in there. So that's that. And then on this side you've got a corner pocket. Again, another vintage image from the vintage book. You've got some more doily, more of that vintage booklet, stamped image, and a bow. And then here I just created a little booklet just with a couple of sheets of coffee dyed paper. And also it's got this kind of tracing paper stuff. It's not actually tracing paper. In fact, I can tell you exactly what it was. It was the pages that separated the photographs in the scrapbook album. So it's a piece of that. But I just really like it. I think it's really nice. So I just kind of stitched that in there as well to kind of form an extra page. And then on the front again, another image from the vintage book. So that's that. Over the page, really like this page as well. This has got another book page pocket. It's got another image from the vintage book, some sheet music, some more of that vintage bookkeeping book page, another stamped image of a butterfly, stamped image of a ticket, got some fabric ruffle down the side, some crocheted lace, and then in here you've got a kind of you know, piece of my printable ephemera stuff that I thought the blue was just a really nice contrast with this page. And obviously the blue is kind of used elsewhere in the journal, but on this page I thought it made a kind of striking contrast, so you know, I quite liked that. This is another one of my printables, but it's just printed literally onto some coffee dyed paper, so that's that one. Some more coffee dyed paper, some lace trim, oops, and then you've got some stamped pocket corners, the rest of that doily, another piece of lace, another stamped corner down here, and then that's the other half of that flower with the crocheted lace. In here you've got another book page pocket, and it's been layered up with various elements. It's got this clock face stamped image with some fabric and a little piece of fabric ruffle with some diamante. Got some more crochet trim and a bow. And then tucked into the pocket, you've got another one of my Matchbox Tops printables. That's just been coffee dyed and distressed. That just goes into that pocket. Oops, so I can get it in. And then here you've got some more crocheted lace, and then tucked in behind you've got obviously another image from the vintage book, and then you've just got a little kind of pad that I created with, again, just some pages there for journaling. These are some kind of, they're not the fly sheets obviously of the book page, but they're kind of that sort of thing. So you've got a bit of journaling, and then you've got obviously a bit of pattern kind of on there. You've got a couple of pieces of coffee dyed ledger as well. And then over the page, on this page you've got, this was just an envelope which I've decorated with various elements, some crochet, some fabric ruffle and a little fabric flower. Vintage book, the vintage booklet, and then here I made this lovely large tag with, again, an image from the book that's layered up onto some of this fabric which has all been coffee dyed. You've got a vellum piece of my printables, and then some sheet music, little flower and a bit of kind of crochet trim, some net there to hold it, and it's all been stitched around the edge of the tag. So that's that one. A little bit of stamping in the corners. Oops, stamping there. The other bit of the book page, the sheet music. Another piece from the Gypsy Rose kit. Oops. And some more lace trim. A couple of these pages, I just want to point out, are actually slightly torn, obviously, from the kind of coffee dyeing process. So I just want to highlight that. Here you've got a stamped image of a clock. More stamped corners, and then on this page I've got a corner tuck spot. Behind there is obviously some more of that vintage booklet. Tucked in a little postcard that just tucks in like that. Got some fabric ruffle and a fabric flower. Vintage button there and some lace trim. And then just tied around with some string, you've just got this folding kind of little flip there. Vintage image from the book, and some more of those Matchbox Top printables, and that actually I think I did as a pocket as well. So you've actually got kind of another pocket there if you had a small item that wasn't going to stick up obviously past the string, if you see what I mean. So that's that. And then going over the page, you've got here another kind of corner tuck spot. This is some book page. It's been, you know, put onto some sort of cardstock. You've got some of that vintage booklet, a little butterfly, another stamped image up here, a flower, another piece from the vintage book, a little ticket, and some fabric ruffle down here. Some more of that vintage bookkeeping book, and then another tag here with another image from the book. You've got some more of that ledger. More of the Matchbox Tops, another butterfly. You've got a Gypsy Rose caravan. Some more of the my printables. Another little flower down here with a pearl, and some more of that trim. And again, it's just been stitched around on the sewing machine with some more net up there. And on this page, you've got another book page pocket, slightly different one. It's got a kind of folded down, you know, corner, which I thought was quite nice. You've got this little piece here, which actually, if I recall, I think I did that as a little belly band. So again, if you had something kind of smallish, that could also act as a little pocket. Although I say that, I can't now get something in. So maybe it's, no, yep, I can. This is obviously just too wide. So if you had something, oh, there we go. So that could go in there, and then you could have that as a tuck spot behind. So then you've got just this small ticket, again, some vintage booklet there, crochet trim, stamped image. So I'm just going to pop that back in there because I thought that looked really quite fun. And then here you've got some crochet trim and another one of those photographs from the scrapbook and a little rosebud here, like that. And then here on the final page, you've got a belly band going down the middle with here a folding kind of flip out, which again, it's just an image from the vintage book. Just got a piece of stamp there from where the book kind of used to be. And then here you've got a little stamped image. I have a feeling maybe I did that one as a pocket as well. It's hard to remember. Yes, I did. So again, if you had kind of very small pieces, that you could put another piece into there as well. So you've got kind of a few pockets within pockets, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm just picking off some hot glue strands that I've got stuck on me from earlier. So you've got a few pockets within pockets, and then I just literally clipped that onto the side to keep that closed. And then you've got some vintage lace and some fabric ruffle. Another printable there, or, you know, printed image there of a vintage piece that's been printed onto coffee dyed paper. Little butterfly. That just goes literally in there. And then on the very final page, so the inside of the back cover, you've got some more of that lace trim, and then you've got one of my little folding booklet pocket things that I did a tutorial for these, I think last week, or it could have been the week before. And you've basically got the kind of 3 pages here. So the front one's been decorated with some images from the vintage book, some lace, booklets, and then a flower. And then you open it up, you've got obviously journaling spaces there, and then you've got 2 pockets here as well. And then you've got in the side here another one of my Matchbox tops printables, which again, I mean, you could just pop that, you know, either in one of these, probably not this one because it would probably be too tall and overhang the book. But obviously you've got those 2 as pockets, and then you've obviously got the side one as pocket as well. Behind there you had some vintage booklet and sheet music. And then this one just ties up here at the top, which obviously, you know, by nature then kind of holds the other 2 pages closed as well. So you've got loads of space for journaling and loads of little nooks and crannies in this book. I think it's kind of turned out really quite interesting with all the different fold outs and kind of openings. I will kind of glue this petal down because I'm finding that quite annoying. But yeah, so I hope that you like this journal. I haven't thought of a name for it. Sorry, I just knocked the camera. A name for it as yet. But I will do before I pop it in my shop. So obviously it will be in my shop by the time that this video is uploaded, with a name. So I hope that you liked it. I'd love to hear your comments below. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. That would be great. And yeah, I hope that you all enjoyed the video and have a really nice day. Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye.